welcome to my YouTube channel. My name is Lydia and I make faith-based content here on YouTube. I do release new videos every Tuesday, so if you're new, definitely encourage you to subscribe so you don't miss out on any new content coming out. And if you're coming back, welcome. Hope you're having an amazing week depending on when you're catching this, and hope you're keeping healthy, warm and safe. We are in the middle of a series talking about habits that make for being a great Christian, because we pursue greatness in every other area of our lives. Why not the one that matters the most, which is our spiritual walk? So we're moving, we are committed, you and I together on this journey to move from being good to being great Christians. And today I'm talking about the habit of pursuing or cultivating great dreams, because we serve a great God and He's implanted in us greatness. It is there. If there's a dream in you, something that is just tugging at you and just doesn't want to let you go, my friend, God is the one that placed it there. Even if you look at yourself and you're like, I don't know how, I'm two, I don't know what your two is, but God delights in doing the impossible through highly unlikely people. I mean, when we look at the Bible, we find Abraham and Sarah, they were too old to have a child. And we look at Joseph, he was too much of a slave and too much of a prisoner to become a prince of Egypt. And we look at Gideon, he was too shy to become a warrior. And we look at David, he was too young and unwanted to become the second greatest king of, I mean, even today he's still celebrated. And we look at Esther, she was an orphan turned queen. And then we find Mary, the mother of Jesus, who was too young and a virgin, and she's the mother of Jesus, the only virgin birth to date and ever. And then we find the disciples, who too were too untrained and too uneducated. So whatever I'm too shy, I'm too this, I'm too whatever your too is, it does not matter, because you serve a great God and He has implanted greatness in you, and He will not leave you to accomplish it by yourself. So I call you to commit to living a life of being a canvas of God's glory, not a monument of your self-importance or inferiority. No, my friend. We're called to be a canvas of God's glory. And for that to happen, I need us to settle 5 key things. And the first one is God is able. We read in Jeremiah that nothing is too hard for the Lord. Jeremiah said, is anything too hard for you? Nothing. So if God is calling or planting something in you, it's not about you, it's about who He is. He is more than able to see and accomplish it. And the second thing, God desires to. I mean, in 1 Corinthians it says that, but as it is written, eye has not seen, nor ear heard, nor have entered into the heart of man the things which God has prepared for those who love Him. Do you love Him? Then He has amazing things prepared for you. He desires to. He is a good father. A good father wants to do great things for His children. And the third thing I want you to settle in your heart is He has promised. And Psalms says that, delight yourself also in the Lord, and He shall give you the desires of your heart. He promises to implant His desires into your heart. And what He has implanted in there, He desires to see it through. He desires to see it happen. And the fourth thing I want you to settle is that God has invited us, which is in line with the third one. God has invited us. In Psalms He says that, ask me and I'll give you the nations, the whole earth as your inheritance. So God is He's the one who invited you to ask Him for great things. Because the fifth thing I want you to settle, He will see you through. In Philippians, Paul said that, being confident of this very thing, that He who has begun a good work in you will complete it until the day of Jesus Christ. God invites you because He will see you through. And the only condition for this blank open check is abide in Him. When we abide in Him, our hearts become one with His. He's able to deposit His heart and His desires in us and His dream that He has for us. And He refines our motives so that even when we pursue those great things, there's nothing wrong with ambition. The only thing that taints it is our motive. But if our motives, if our heart is in tune and is in line with God, then our motives are pure. It doesn't matter what other people think. If you know that you're one with the Father and that your motives are refined, you can with confidence, because you cannot pursue something confidently that you're convicted about. But if you know that you know, I'm pursuing greatness because I'm one with the Father and He's the one that's implanted in it. It doesn't matter what anyone thinks. You pursue it with holy conviction. The Bible is full of lessons concerning dreams. And there's 5 characters that I want us to look at because I believe they teach us so many principles that are rich. And I'll definitely encourage you in your own time to just study each life of these 5 people that I'm going to touch on. And the first one is Abraham. And from Abraham's life, we read in Genesis 12, where God said, "Now the Lord had said to Abraham, get out of your country, from your family and from your father's house, to a land that I will show you. I will make you a great nation. I will bless you and make your name great, and you shall be a blessing." God-inspired dreams don't always come with a full picture. Sometimes they begin with just God calling us out of our comfort zone. That's the first principle that God-sized dreams come with. I want us to learn is that sometimes God will not show us everything, but He'll show us just a glimpse and call us out. And He will only show us the next step once we take the first step. And that is what we learned from Abraham. Definitely encourage you to read his whole life. Before he realized that he was called to be a father of nations, he had to walk in obedience of coming out of the old without really knowing what the new that he was called into was. Sometimes we have to step out so we can know what God is calling us to. And the second person is Moses. And Moses, I would encourage you to read Exodus 1-3. From there, we learn that sometimes God has implanted something, a holy indignation or agitation, something that we just feel is wrong and we've called to deal with. And from Moses, we learn that God-sized dreams require God. Sometimes God will allow us to attend those things that He plants into our hearts so that we fail, so that we realize that it's big because He's big. He does not need us to try to figure it out. We need His methods. There is no way that Moses would have been able to rescue millions of people in his own strength. He needed God. So whatever God has implanted in you, don't be naive or presumptuous enough to think you can fulfill it in your own. It's called a great dream for a reason, because you need a great God to help you fulfill it. And the third person is David. And David was not even looking out for notoriety. He was just living his life as not the least favorite son of his father's house. And God decides to make him king. He gets anointed. After getting anointed, guess what? Persecution after persecution. Saul had to deal with jealousy, had to deal with people trying to kill him, had to deal with battle after battle, literally living in the wilderness for over 13 years of his life. Something that he did not go out searching for. It found him. But in that process, we read in Psalms where he wrote, "Whom have I in heaven but you? I desire you more than anything on earth. My health may fail, and my spirit may grow weak, but God remains the strength of my heart. He is mine forever." In the process of that, David loved the dream giver more than the dream itself. Sometimes God will allow adversity to show or to test, do we love Him more than the dream? Because sometimes He knows what's already in our hearts, but we don't know. Sometimes we'll go through the process of refining to make sure that our heart is more in love with the dream giver than the dream itself. And then we find Joseph. Joseph's story begins in Genesis 37. Definitely encourage you to read it. And then we see that sometimes, just like David, he was not looking for this dream. The dreams came. The dreams just came to him. He was not looking to be prince or to rule over his family. He just dreamed it. God just planted in him. Sometimes you will be hated. Be content with that. You will be hated with God, simply for what God has called you for. Not for what you've done or what you're doing. Just settle in your heart that your God-given dream will not always inspire love, joy, peace, affection from other people. It will, more often than not, encourage persecution. And sometimes from the very ones closest to you, because they see you a certain way. They don't see you with the eye of God. They see you with their own nature eye, or they see you based off how their limit. They could not see that they are gonna one day be the nation of Israel. So the idea of them bowing down to their younger brother just made them feel like, oh, they're small, because they couldn't see who they were. They were unwilling to see who Joseph was. So sometimes God-given dreams will, from the very closest to you, those that are called to encourage you, to support you, and not always family, maybe friends, maybe even your church family, set in your heart that it does not change what God has spoken over you. Love them, forgive them, practice walking in forgiveness, but know that it has nothing to do with you, but it has everything to do with what God has placed in your heart. And then we find Paul. Paul, who used to be Saul, killing everyone and because they believed in Jesus, now has a whole Damascus experience in Acts 9. I definitely encourage you to read it from Acts 9 to 13. His story is really, truly amazing. He goes from just persecuting everyone and killing everyone to now being radically changed, which from his life we learn sometimes the clarity of our calling, the clarity of our purpose, clarity of our dreams can be birthed out of crisis of identity, crisis of just we're going one way and we're so fully convinced this is the right way, this is what we're supposed to do, and then suddenly everything just changes and we realize and we feel lost. It was in that moment where Saul was 100% sure that he was doing what God wanted him to do, and then it turns out he was not in God's will, that God showed him truly what his will for him was, and it was far greater than what Paul initially thought or was pursuing. So sometimes crisis will open us up to the true vision and dream that God has for us. And I leave you with this to ponder. One day when you're in heaven and you meet your Father and he shows you the vision that he had for you, how close do you want it to be compared to the life that you're living or you've lived? Because we read Jesus' words to his disciples at the end of his life in Luke, where he said to them, "These are the words which I spoke to you while I was still with you, that all the things must be fulfilled which were written in the law of Moses and the prophets and the Psalms concerning me." Jesus said everything that was written about him was fulfilled. My question is, according to Psalm, God wrote a book of our lives while we were still being formed. He had intentions, had an agenda for your life. Are you walking according to that agenda? How close do you want to walk in accordance to that agenda? Will everything that has been written about you, that God intended for you, be fulfilled? And my question is, what is God calling you to attempt for him in your lifetime? What is he tugging at you right now? What step is he calling you out to take? Because he won't always show you the big picture. He'll just step by step. Right now, what is he calling you out to step into? And if not now, when? And I'm asking myself as much as I'm asking you. Everything we learn together, it's not about you, it's about us. We're on this journey together. I'm asking myself as much as I'm asking you. If not now, when? Will you be able to say everything that has been written about me in God's book has been fulfilled? I leave you with those words. Love you guys. As always, thank you for watching. Please do consider these questions and have a good one. Stay blessed. I pray for you always. And please do encourage other people to join us on the series. I really, really believe that this is the year that God is just calling us as church to just remember who we are and to step into everything he has prepared for us. Have a good one. Bye.